Welcome back, you guys. It's something a little bit different. So this is not obviously the Lions franchise. Instead, we are doing a realistic franchise series with the Buccaneers. We're going to see what it's like to kind of use the Buccaneers going forward without Tom Brady. And so with that being said, obviously, right now we're in the wild card. Everything is, at this point, how it happened in the regular season. And we still have Tom Brady on the roster right now, but he's going to retire at the end of the season, of course. And so we're going to start from the point of the NFL draft and just seeing, what do the Buccaneers do moving forward. This is not a one-episode rebuild of the Buccaneers. This is a similar series to the Lions franchise. The only difference is that, the Lions franchise is fantasy, and this is going to be with the actual Buccaneers roster from here on out. Of course, we're going to be making a lot of changes. We need to find our future at quarterback. We need to make a lot of adjustments. The Buccaneers are the oldest roster in the NFL right now. So that's why I think this is going to be an exciting rebuild and just franchise series for the Buccaneers because, moving on from, undisputed, the greatest quarterback of all time, how do they come back from that? How did they find that future quarterback after attaching their entire roster, their entire future to Tom Brady? How do the Buccaneers move forward? That is what we're going to find out. So with that being said, we're going to sim through the playoffs. All right, so we're at the beginning of the offseason. We have only one retirement, and that's Tom Brady. So the first thing we need to do is we have 29 players that need to negotiate their contracts. So we're going to try to speed run through that, and then we're going to get into the offseason free agency, potential trades we might make, and then the NFL draft. All right, so Lavonte David is an X-Factor player who is, getting older. He is still really good, but is he going to be a part of this rebuild? Is he going to be important for us in the following season? I kind of see it as a Bobby Wagner sort of situation where his window is ahead of where we're at, so we're not competing for a championship this upcoming season, as far as I can tell, unless we were to get some great quarterback in free agency or via the draft. So what I want to do is I want to try to sign him to a couple years. He has high interest in re-signing with us, and I want to give him a little bit more money and see if he'll re-sign. So he's going to re-sign, and I think we're going to trade him. We can't just let him go for nothing. It does hurt to trade him for sure, but we just can't let him go for nothing, and he's not going to be a part of the rebuild. So it is better to trade him than, in my opinion, better to trade him than to let him go. And release him into free agency. Jamel Dean, at 26 years old, he is right now the best corner on the Buccaneers, and we're going to just try to offer him this deal. He has a high interest in re-signing. He is taking it, so that's great. Logan Ryan is a little bit older. I am actually just going to let him go to free agency. Akeem Hicks is also older. I think, if anything, I'm going to let him go, but he does have interest in re-signing. I'm going to see what I can get him for, for 2 years. Try to give him a little bit less pay, see if he'll take it. He's not going to resign. Okay. We only have 18 million cap space left already. Julio, I would like to resign Julio. He's a great jump ball receiver. See if he'll be willing to take this. He is not interested in resigning. Okay. Mike Edwards is a little bit younger. He has no interest. Sean Murphy-Bunting has no interest. And I'm not willing to overpay, especially considering how much, cap space we have left right now. We don't have a ton left. Keanu Neal is not the type of safety that I like. I do like that he has high hit power, but he's not very fast, not great in coverage. William Golston's a little bit older. Giovanni Bernard. Nassib is older. Scotty Miller, I don't love to bring back. He also has no interest in re-signing. Rashad Perriman has high interest in re-signing. He is a little bit older as well. Anthony Nelson is 6'7". I didn't realize that. And he has interest in re-signing at 26 years old. 69 overall. We'll go ahead and try to re-sign him, see what he wants. Give him a little bit less. And try to get him for 3 years. And so he's willing to take it. Sweet. Nick Levert, I think, is actually, he right now is their best left guard. 26 years old, almost a 70 overall, normal dev. I want to try to re-sign him for 4 years and see if we can get a deal on him. And he may just be the backup at left guard in the future, but for now, he's the starter, actually. DeAndre Sent a little bit older. Anyone else? Kyle Rudolph is getting pretty old. Josh Wells. Looking around. What about Cam Gill? What are his stats looking like? 6'2", pretty fast. His zone is terrible. We'll let him slide. He's 63 overall. We're going to let him go. Devin Tompkins, 5'8", 62 overall. We're going to let him go as well. A lot of this roster of players that's not re-signed currently just are not fantastic players. Like, we got some 50 overalls here. Blaine Gabbert's a 55. So with 13 mil left in cap space, we are not going to re-sign any more of these players. All right, we're going to go through and evaluate each position, looking at trades we might want to make. So quarterback is obviously the number one area of need for this roster. Kyle Trask is currently the starting QB at a 57 overall out of Florida. At halfback, I want to keep Leonard Fournette on the roster for this year. And then I like having Rashad White as a change of pace receiving back as well. The other halfbacks on this roster, so Patrick Laird, isn't he actually a fullback? I don't really know, but Keyshawn Vaughn, 26 years old. I'm not that invested in keeping him, but there's no value to really trading him. At wide receiver, this is where it gets a little interesting. So if we're getting a young quarterback, I like having Mike Evans on the roster as a jump ball receiver, just to throw it up to him and let him go and get it. He still has superstar X factor. He is just like a free catch sometimes for not great QBs. He's a bailout basically. Chris Godwin, 27 years old, 89 overall. He is also, him and Mike Evans are the best two things on this roster on offense. And, Godwin's cap hit is 20 mil. Mike Evans isn't really a part of the future at 30 years old, but he could be a part of the intermediate future. Chris Godwin could be a part of the future, but his cap hit is gigantic for what he's giving. But let's see. Let me look here. So he's superstar dev, 27 years old. I mean, he's got everything you could possibly want. His route running is fantastic. I just don't know if we want to give him up. All right, so Ryan Jensen is outside of the window of kind of what we want at the offensive line position at 32 years old, making 12 mil per year, still valuable. I'm going to see if I can get a first-round pick next year and a second-round pick next year from the Giants. And I can't. Let's see, I wonder if I can get... All right, so we're offering Ryan Jensen to the Niners for a first and a second for next season, and we got it done. We got the first-round pick from the Niners and the second-round pick. So it's not for this draft, but for next draft, which I like to see. It clears up a little bit of cap space for us as well. And again, the reason we got rid of Ryan Jensen is not because he's not a good center. It's because we just need to look forward to the future. Ryan Jensen is 32 years old. He's starting to age out. We just want to develop some of our younger offensive linemen. Donovan Smith is another guy that really has no future on this roster. Shaq Mason is 30 years old. Tristan Wirfs obviously is staying on this roster at 24 years old. He might be the number one right tackle prospect in the game. And then let's look at the defensive line. So Vita Vea is 28. He is a player that we would like to keep for the foreseeable future. Levante David, again, is a player that we just re-signed. I'm going to see what his worth is on the open market. All right, for Levante David, I want Jaquan Brisker and a second for next season from the Bears, and we got it done. I love Jaquan Brisker as a prospect, and also we're just stocking up on draft picks for next season. All right, we're going to trade Cameron Brate for the young Larry Borum, the left tackle from the Bears as well. He is just somebody that we can replace Donovan Smith with. I'm not sure about right now, but maybe next season. Donovan Smith, let's see, he's taking 15 mil this year. I'm not sure what interest teams would have in him. Looking around town, let's see, we might have to negotiate our own deal. All right, so for Donovan Smith, our left tackle, making 15 mil a year, the only teams that had a high interest in him were the Chiefs and another team. The Chiefs really need a left tackle right now. So we're going to try to offer Donovan Smith for a third, a fourth, and Leo Chenal, I think that's how you say his name, a middle linebacker who could develop into a great young player. Let's see. And they took it. Okay, great. So we got him off the books, and now we have 33 mil in cap space. Now, so I'm not sure that there's any other players we really want to trade off of this roster. We do want to be somewhat competitive in the following season. The only other person I could see is maybe Shaq Mason, but we need offensive linemen to play. So I don't think we're moving off of Shaq Mason anytime this season. And at the corner spots, we have a lot of youth at corner still. Anton Winfield at free safety. Now we have Jaquan Brisker at strong safety, which I love having him. The thing I like about Jaquan Brisker, one, he's 6'1", he's 24 years old, he's got 89 speed. His man is not the best. His block shed is good, though, and his hit power is great, and he's got good zone coverage. Now, there's some interesting QBs that are available in free agency. Daniel Jones did not get re-signed. He is a free agent right now. He has no interest in signing. Geno has interest, but he's looking for $32 million a year, plus there are 12 teams interested in him. Jimmy G is making projected $13 million per year. He has no offers, but I'm not gonna bring Jimmy back over to the Buccaneers, kind of following Tom Brady around to his old team. So instead, I was looking at 3 different players. I was looking at Baker Mayfield, who has very high interest in playing for us. He has no offers, and he would be making about $7 million per year. I was also looking at Tyler Huntley. He'd be making a lot less. He'd be making $4 million per year for us. And I typically like some quarterbacks that can scramble a little bit. I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield can't scramble. And then Jordan Love is also available. You'd think that he would be on the Packers. But what I'm going to do is I'm hoping that Jordan Love does go to the Packers, because that is kind of what I see happening in real life. And I'm going to just try to sign Tyler Huntley, and I'm going to try to sign Baker Mayfield as well. So Baker, I want to try to sign him for 2 years. And, well, actually, let's try to sign him for 3, because he could end up being the backup, not after this initial season, but the season after. And we're going to try to give him something a little bit more than the regular deal. And, again, he has no other offers, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get him signed. We'll see, though. Tyler Huntley also has no additional offers. We're going to give him a little bit less to be the backup QB. Let's see, we'll offer him also a 3-year deal, and I'm going to give him $2 million. He has decent interest in signing. We currently have the top offer on Irv Smith. He's not the prototypical type of tight end I usually like. I like a taller tight end. He is 6'2", but he has star dev, and he's only 25 years old. And he has decent interest in signing with us. I would like to get Evan Ingram, but I don't want to overpay for him. All right, so we got Will Hernandez at right guard. We got Irv Smith. We got Juwan James, and we got Baker. So we didn't get Tyler Huntley yet. That's totally fine. We still have Baker at QB, so we have the quarterback for our first season most likely. And we've got a left tackle and a right guard, and we've got a starting tight end finally. All right, so we already have Devin White at our middle linebacker spot number 1 after getting rid of Levante David. Now, I've always been a fan of Deion Jones, and he used to be on the Falcons, and then he moved over to the Browns, and only 28 years old, very fast, has star development. I would like to get him to be our backup middle linebacker as Leo Chenal develops for us at a 70 overall. And we could always move Deion Jones around a little bit as well. He is a middle linebacker. We could move Leo Chenal around a little bit as well. I'm not exactly sure. I'd like to sign him for 2 years, see if he's willing to take that. All right, so we ended up signing Tyler Huntley. So he's going to be our backup QB, and we also signed Bryce Callahan. So that is going to be it for us for the free agent market. We have almost no cap space left. We got like $40K. So we're going to move on to the draft at this point. All right, we got some fifth-year options as well. The fifth-year option coming up for Tristan Wirfs. Of course, we want to sign Tristan Wirfs for our fifth-year option, and we're going to pick that up. And with that being said, now we're going to move on to the draft. All right, before getting to the draft, let's look around at this roster. What are the needs? So Juwan James is injured right now. He is our starting left tackle with Larry Borom as the backup. Shaq Mason is at left guard, but really he's probably going to be at right guard, and Will Hernandez will be moved over to left guard. We got Hainsey as our starting center. The O-line outside of Tristan Wirfs is rough in Shaq Mason. It's a bunch of mid to low 70 overalls, so we could go O-line. Irv Smith is our starting tight end. The tight end spot is pretty weak for us as well. Obviously, we have great wide receivers that are a little bit older. Baker Mayfield is our starting QB. We could go quarterback in this draft. We could go quarterback in the next draft. We have Leonard Fournette at halfback. We could go halfback as well. Rashad White is a promising young halfback for us. And defensively, after our couple of signings, we got Devin White at the middle linebacker spot, number 1. We got Joey Tryon still at right outside linebacker. We got Nelson at left outside linebacker. That is an area we probably want to fix up. Although Shaquille Barrett is still on the roster, he is just injured. And so he has an Achilles tear. He's been out for 17 more weeks. I love Jaquan Brisker at strong safety that we ended up getting. So I'm really happy with that. Antoine Winfield is a fantastic free safety. Now we have Jamel Dean, we have Carlton Davis, and we have Bryce Callahan as our nickel corner, who doesn't really kind of fit the mold of what I usually like to do at nickel. Usually at nickel, I like to have somebody that can play the run pretty well, and he's 5'9". He's very small. Our defensive line is really not great. I think we need an edge rusher, most likely. Hall is pretty young for us, and Odenigbo he's 29 years old, so he is not a future player for us. And Vita Vea is 28. So we're looking at a backup D tackle and some edge rushing on the defensive side of the ball. And then the outside linebacker spot, we also are still looking for somebody to replace Nelson, most likely. And Shaq Barrett is getting pretty old. And then at the offensive side of the ball, we're looking for, a lot. We're looking for O-line, we're looking for QBs, we're looking for halfbacks, we're looking for tight ends. And so that will be our primary focus. On offense, it's going to be quarterback, and on defense, it's going to be edge rushers. All right, the Bears have the first pick in the draft, and who are they going to pick? Most likely, I've seen it be a couple different players, but they're going to take Tyree Wilson. We have the 19th pick, so we're going to go through the first round and just see who's going where, and then after that, we're going to go and start simming. For this specific draft, we're using real players because, we kind of simmed all the way through the regular season, and we went and made it through the playoffs, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. And so I felt it would make the most sense to, use the players that are going to be in this upcoming draft because that's kind of the point we're at in the off season. And then going forward after this draft, we're going to use Madden created players. But Bryce Young going to the Texans. The Cardinals are going to take C.J. Stroud. Again, an interesting pick because they have Kyler. The Colts take Jalen Carter. And this is where I think Will Anderson falls to the Seahawks, and he does. The Lions end up taking Lucas Van Ness, the left end out of Iowa. The Raiders are going to take Brian Bresee, the D tackle out of Clemson. Will Levis is going to the Titans. That's an interesting pick for sure. Peter Skoronski going at left tackle to the Jets. The Falcons taking Trenton Simpson. Miles Murphy is still on the board. The Eagles take Bijan Robinson. Now, that is an interesting pick. Usually I see him falling a little bit later. He would be insane in the ground game for the Eagles. And they may not have Miles Sanders on their roster anymore. Miles Murphy finally going to the Panthers. The Texans taking Jordan Addison. The Patriots taking Jackson Smith-Njigba, JSN. Packers taking Christian Gonzalez. Commanders taking Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. We have only 2 more picks ahead of us, and the Steelers are going to take Broderick Jones, the left tackle. And the last pick ahead of us, the Lions are going to take Devin Witherspoon. So now we're on the board. All right, so we need to shore up the O-line. Again, we went over the needs a little bit. We need edge rushers. We need outside linebackers. We need a quarterback, of course. We need a tight end. We need offensive line and, maybe a young wide receiver here or there. But we're going O-line here. We need another left tackle. We did sign Juwan James, but Paris Johnson out of Ohio State, falling to this point, is a must-grab. 93 strength, hidden dev. Very happy with him. And we'll see who's still available in the second round. And we're going to sim to the second round and see what's available. Again, we didn't trade for any draft picks for this season. We just have our regular draft picks for the Buccaneers. Next season, we have a couple of firsts and a couple of seconds. All right, so Jalen Hyatt is on the board out of Tennessee, a fantastic wide receiver who is ridiculously fast. And again, we are looking at building for the future. So we already have a lot of wide receiver depth, but I'm going to be honest, looking at the rest of the board, looking at who's available, Jake Haener is projected as a top 5 pick, but he's clearly not. At QB, it's pretty thin already. Looking down the list, there are other positions that could be helpful, but I have some corners that I want to look at later in the draft. And I was interested in Ashani, I think it is, from Texas A&M, and I was interested in Kayshon Boutte out of LSU. But we are going to take Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. Ridiculously fast. In this right here, he has a 4.24 40. And so we have no other receiver like that on the roster. He's normal dev, but he's got 97 speed, 96 excel, 6 feet tall. Very happy with this pick nonetheless. All right, at corner, we're taking a project. Eli Ricks, 6'2". He is not the fastest corner, but again, at 6'2", it's pretty great. He's got very high strength, and I know that his zone coverage is pretty solid. So now moving into the 4th round. Again, so far we've drafted our corner, we've drafted a wide receiver, and we've drafted a left tackle. So, edge rusher has really not been there ever since the 1st round. That is the only bummer so far, is we're not filling that edge rusher spot. Stetson Bennett goes off to the board to the Lions. And we're going to look now and see if there's any sort of hidden gems at the defensive end spots. We're seeing a bunch of day 3 prospects. We're seeing if anyone's hidden on here. Because sometimes that does happen with drafts. KJ Henry. A lot of... when we get this deep on the board, I'm not that familiar with some of these players. So I'm not seeing a lot of great options for edge rushers or outside linebackers. Looking at David, can't say his name at all. Pretty fast as an outside linebacker at 6'4". Right outside linebacker, Robert Beal out of Georgia is a day 3 prospect. He's also 6'4". He is a little bit slower. And then another player I was interested in is Muhammad Diabate out of Utah. I know he is pretty solid. He is very fast, runs a 4.5 as a middle linebacker at 6'4". I think we're going to take him. Again, we have Leo Chanel as our backup middle linebacker right now. But Muhammad Diabate could become a middle linebacker for us down the road. We're going to take Jaleel Billingsley here as a day 3 projection out of Texas at 6'4". Pretty physical. He's got 86 speed, 86 excel. Got normal dev, but we just need more depth at tight end. We do have K-Dot, and we have Irv Smith now as well. But Jaleel is that athletic, sort of taller tight end that I kind of like to see. Irv Smith, again, at 6'2", is really on the short end of the tight end, kind of height-wise. That I'm used to. I don't play usually with a lot of tight ends that are that small. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment although I do know that he is a great route runner. Looking at Marvin Mims, he is a slot receiver, and he is decently fast. All right, here we're taking Jalen Jones out of Texas A&M. He is actually a fantastic 6'2" corner. So we got 2 6'2" corners now. He is faster than Eli Ricks, but he is more of a zone corner for sure. It says he's a zone corner. I know that he has pretty low man, but we've got depth at corner now, a lot of depth, and we've got a lot of young corners on the roster. We have one more pick, I believe. It's our last pick in the 7th round at number 9. And with this last pick, we're going to take Jordan McFadden out of Clemson, 22 years old, the right tackle. Normal dev. The strength and excel are pretty solid. His physical traits are pretty good. But just more depth at the outside off of the offensive line. And we are all out of our picks for the draft. Again, once we get past like the 3rd or 4th round, it starts to get dicey for me. I don't know that many college players that far down the board. But going forward, when we get into the Madden created players, I'll be able to have a little bit more of an idea of who to draft, just because you get a whole season to kind of look at prospects versus when we're starting from the offseason already. You have very little time to kind of go through the prospects you like, even though I already kind of know how good some of them are in this created draft. With that being said, we're $2 million over the cap space. We're going to get into the offseason, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a couple of highlights from the offseason, and then we're going to go through roster cuts and get ready for the regular season. On this first play, the Vikings run it with Dalvin Cook, and I tried to go down with Jaquan Brisker and get a big hit, and he got thrown off. In the same game, we almost get an interception with our rookie corner, Eli Ricks, but instead he just
gets a pass breakup. Here, Jalen Hyatt is on a jet sweep outside, does a little cutback and a little double move to get back inside. Gets laid out on the hip, but still holds on to it, does not fumble, which I love to see. A little fake jet sweep later in the game. Another throw out to Tyler Johnson. In the same game, at the end of the first half, through a back of the end zone touchdown pass to Jalen Hyatt, went up and caught it, despite the fact that it was contested. In the second game here against the Steelers, throwing a pass that it was just crazy. It got tipped up in the air, kicked off of our receiver's leg, and Minkah Fitzpatrick got the interception. On the following set of plays, Najee Harris with a nice run, breaking several tackles, and making it all the way into the end zone. So, this is showing highlights. It's also showing lowlights in this game. On the following play, a play-action rollout, and Mike Evans completely mosses Sauce Gardner, taking it all the way for the touchdown to start the game against the Jets. An absolutely insane catch. Kind of, like Sauce played perfect coverage. There's just nothing you can do. You can't teach height. You can't teach catching traffic. Nice run here, taking it out at the 46-yard line. Again, showcasing, some things our defense needs to work on. I love this wide receiver screen play where Mike Evans gets it. And, you don't think of Mike Evans as a wide receiver screen kind of receiver, but he did a great job on that play. Another jet sweep, this time to Chris Godwin. It was a Jalen Hyatt last time, but Chris Godwin showcasing a little shiftiness, getting a couple broken tackles or making a couple people miss. Tony Pollard making a couple people miss. He is now on the Jets. So a great running back to pair alongside Zach Wilson, unfortunately. I wish they had a different quarterback. Here, a really bad ball from Baker Mayfield. Throwing the interception. He had his receiver wide open over the middle, but yeah, throws it long to the safety.
All right, now after playing through the preseason and showing a couple of the preseason highlights, we're going to go ahead and make our final 6 roster cuts before week 1 against the Packers. We have a couple upgrades as well. So we're going to upgrade players first and then go into the cuts. Julio gets an upgrade. We did sign him as a free agent. I'm going to upgrade his physical. This was, again, it's just kind of like a jump ball wide receiver, upgrading his catch, spec catch, catching traffic, and his awareness. And then Joey Tryon, he gets an upgrade. We're going to upgrade his speed rushing as an edge. Right outside linebacker, getting an upgrade to tackle, finesse, and play rec. All right, we're making our 6 cuts before the regular season, and an obvious one is Zach Triner, who I think is a long snapper for them at 22 overall. At QB, I know we have 4 quarterbacks on the roster, so we're going to cut Ryan Griffin because we have Kyle Trask as our 3rd QB behind Tyler Huntley and Baker Mayfield. And then we have 4 more cuts to make. David Wells, a 57 overall tight end. He is not going to make the cut. Jaleel Billingsley, let's see. Let's look at the tight end position again. And we just made 1 cut already. We have 4 on the roster with Ko Kieft. And Jaleel Billingsley will play a little bit. I'm going to keep him on the roster. Looking at wide receiver, we have a lot of wide receivers here. Julio, Russell Gage, Jalen Hyatt, who had success. Kalon Geiger is going to be moved to the practice squad. He is not going to really be playing at all for us. And then we have 2 more cuts to make. I'm looking down the roster, and we don't have a lot of depth across the O-line. I guess we do over on the right side, at least we do. And I'm still not seeing anyone that is worthy of being cut yet. Although I will say we are thin at the defensive end spots. So we're going to go ahead and, let's see, this is tough. We're going to move Brandon Walton to the practice squad. So we have 1 more player we need to remove. Our last player we're going to remove, we have Devin White, Leo Chanel, and then Muhammad Diabate, who we just drafted. We also have Ulysses Gilbert, who I like a lot for his speed. KJ Britt is still pretty raw. He's the same overall as Gilbert, but a lot slower. We're going to move him to the practice squad as well, and that is the final roster cut. We have a couple practice squad players and a couple players we've cut outright. We still have $2 million in cap space as well. And again, after this season, we have a lot of first round and second and third round draft picks that we've traded for trading players like Levante David. But with that being said, that is the end of this episode. We're going to get into week 1 against the Packers, which I hope you guys are excited about in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed already, make sure to do that. Make sure you stay up to date with the channel, and you'll get the videos in your feed. But yeah, peace, you guys.